Who's on his way out? The guy on the right-hand side, Carl Lawson, veteran outside linebacker who played in just one game for the Ravens, and that came on Thanksgiving night. He logged 26 defensive snaps and 2 on special teams. Aside from that, did not activate him, did not use him. Carl Lawson was last a Dallas Cowboy last year, where he logged 5 sacks for Jerry Jones and company. And now he's on his way out. And he's given some context as to why. Ramey, at Hoodie Ramey on Twitter, tweeted that Carl Lawson genuinely had to be putting out some of the worst practices known to man, hinting at what the Ravens don't have or what they've been getting from their outside linebackers that are active on game day. And Carl quote tweeted him and said, nope, not at all. Quite the opposite. Some of the best, actually. The organization needed to do what was best for them. Roster dynamics. Still a great place. Thankful for the opportunity. We'll get back to Carl in just a second. The roster dynamics. I believe Carl when he says that. And I commend him. I admire the response. He's a pro. Hopefully he gets another opportunity somewhere else along the way. But sometimes roster dynamics do come into play for a front office, in this case, Eric DeCosta's. And the corresponding move is a veteran guard by the name of Laken Tomlinson. Here he is in a San Francisco 49ers jersey. He spent part of this season with the Houston Texans. As you see Jonas's note in the upper right-hand corner of this graphic, he is a former first-round pick. He's now on the Ravens practice squad. He started 7 games for Houston before being released last week. Began his career in Detroit. The Lions used the 28th overall pick on him in 2015. He's now 33. He'll turn 34 in February. He's 6'3", 323. Played his college football at Duke and has been with the Lions, 49ers, Jets, Seahawks, Texans, and now he's part of the Ravens practice squad. He was a 2021 Pro Bowler. And if you're wondering what the here and now analysis is, I'm going to give it to you because I checked in with a Houston source, and I've got pretty pointed analysis for you. My source says he's definitely not a starting caliber guard anymore. Not really a backup caliber guy either. Began the year as the only unquestioned starter on the offensive line. He was bad. He rotated in games. Stop me if you've heard that before. Rotated in games with the last guy to make the roster at offensive line, Juicy Scruggs. Then got benched. Then got back to rotating. Then got benched again as they stopped the rotation and tried the backup center at left guard. There's more where this came from. I'm reading directly from the text. This is my Houston Texans source. Was inactive the final 2 games when they had another new starter at left guard and Scruggs to back him up. He ain't got it anymore. Nice guy, good teammate, no longer a professional football player. Use that at your discretion and choose wisely on the poll. Let's get an early update on where that count is with almost 100 votes. So far, leading the way, I thought it might be. I had a hunch on this one. Option nothing. I'm tired. 49% in the lead with 100 votes and counting. Next closest, maybe some of you trying to will this into existence, Fa'alele's replacement, 24%. Practice squad depth, where he finds himself right now, 21%. And the make your case is just simply tell me what you think if it's not one of those first 3 options in the live chat. So that's that. John Harbaugh talked about his offensive line yesterday, and just in case you've been living under a rock, here's what he had to say.
With going forward, with the offensive line, we've asked you a lot about changes. Were you pleased how that group played as a whole on Sunday? I know there's been a lot of talk about Fa'alele's play and how he got beat on a couple of occasions. What did you see when you evaluated him, and as you continue to evaluate him?
Yeah, I just talked to George Moorhup about it. It's all in all, I thought the offensive line played well, all in all. And I thought the two tackles played two of their best games. Roger overset one time, got beat inside on a certain type of pass protection. Tyler played really well. I thought the guards played exceptionally well in the run game. I mean, they were moving people. They were wearing people out. So that was good to see. I thought they were mostly good in the pass game, but too inconsistent probably. There was two or three each of them had probably. Daniel had a couple in the pass game, and Andrew might have had one or two in the run game he wants back. But every player has plays they want back. I can think of one where Daniel was hard setting, like a hard play action, where it was more of a drop back pass type protection, got overextended and got beat like that. That really shouldn't happen. I mean, he should be setting a different way there. He knows that. So that was a mistake. Lots of other times it was good. We got beat toward the end on a two-man inside game. That we could have done a better job on. Keep Lamar clean right at the end of the game there. So things like that needed to be better from the interior guys.
All right, the messaging is the same. It'll continue to be the same. I honestly encourage you guys not to get too worked up over his protective messaging. That's just how it goes, a lot of which is coach speak, and you hope that the difficult conversations, difficult constructive feedback messaging and all that happens behind closed doors. I know that's happening. I think we can all agree that that's definitely happening behind closed doors in an NFL building, but the problem is it's not improving. It's not changing anything. And so now you ask, or maybe you do, maybe you're thinking out there, well, if it's not Laken Tomlinson, who's been signed to the practice squad to potentially bring in competition for Fa'alele as they hold on to this glimmer of hope for the postseason, then who's it going to be? Well, just in case you missed yesterday's show, Ben Cleveland is not an option. Even if he was, I think the Ravens have made it pretty darn clear that they don't view him as a better option than what they have at their respective guard positions. And yesterday, Ben Cleveland, even if he were to be an option, became not an option. He finalized a DUI plea deal from his arrest in February, and he's now about to serve without pay a 3-game suspension levied by the National Football League for violating the NFL's substances of abuse policy. So just so we're clear on that, that's the latest with Ben Cleveland. If you're just tuning in right now, Laken Tomlinson has been signed to the Ravens practice squad. He's a former first-round pick out of Detroit all the way back in 2015. He was a Pro Bowler all the way back in 2021. And he played 7 games this season for the Houston Texans. And again, I think this warrants repeat. My Texans source had this to say just within the last 25 minutes when I texted him, what do you have on Laken Tomlinson for me? And he said as follows. We'll get to the guest lines in just a second. He's definitely not a starting caliber guard anymore. Not really a backup caliber guy either. Began the year as the only unquestioned starter on the offensive line. He was bad. Rotated in games with the last guy to make the roster at offensive line, Juicy Scruggs, then got benched. Then got back to rotating, then got benched again as they stopped the rotation and tried the backup center at left guard. He was inactive the final 2 games when they had another new starter at left guard and Scruggs to back up. He ain't got it anymore. Nice guy, good teammate, no longer a professional football player. Don't hold your breath out there and consider all of that before voting in the poll. That's what the Ravens are bringing into their building right now, and perhaps desperate times call for desperate measures. You want to take the optimistic approach to this, which, by the way, there's no guarantee that Tomlinson's going to walk right in, be a game day elevation on Sunday in Cincinnati, and log snaps for the Ravens. I'm not suggesting that, but they've brought him in. The corresponding move was letting Carl Lawson, the veteran pass rusher, leave the building. He only played in 1 game. So Tomlinson comes in the building, Lawson leaves, and now he's at the very least, an option for them to use as a game day practice squad call-up as soon as this coming Sunday, knowing that he has played NFL football this year. So that's where things stand right now with 2 roster moves made within the last hour or so. Let's get an update on the poll, and then we'll get to the guest lines. Hashtag dare to hope. Show your face so I know who it is. Hashtag dare to hope 2026. Prob not. What a surprise. I see his face now. We'll be bringing Richard on first, then Rave, who I'm sure will have something to say about this. And if you guys want to share a thought and answer verbally what I have in the poll, the question that I have, which is nearing 170 votes, what does EDC's guard signing really mean? Call in and share a thought. Right now, 49% and leading the way is nothing, I'm tired. Practice squad depth is 24%. Fa'alele's replacement is 23%. Make your case? Well, do so by calling in if you so choose. Richard, your thoughts on just within the hour here? 2 roster moves. Carl Lawson is gone. He played in just 1 game for the Ravens. That was Thanksgiving night. He had this to say in a tweet responding to Ramey, who suggested that he could very well been horrific in practice. And Carl wanted to make it clear that was not the case. He says quite the opposite. Some of the best, actually. The organization needed to do what was best for them. Roster dynamics, still a great place. Thankful for the opportunity. Classy. What does it mean? How are you feeling about it? Let's open up the lines and begin with Richard. Welcome back, brother. Your thoughts today?
Hey, Bobby. I mean, to sum it up, I would say abandon all hope, all you who enter. I have no hope for the season. It's 4 more weeks of torture, in my personal opinion. If the Ravens were serious and if Harbaugh was serious when they said it was a Super Bowl bust year, he would have said it was a Super Bowl bust year because it is. Everyone else agrees. Steve Bisciotti agrees. Apparently he didn't get the memo. Now, if he was serious about winning, when you have a defensive line, you have pass rush that doesn't exist, when you have offensive line that doesn't exist, why haven't you exhausted all the options to see what you had? So we never even had a chance to even see what Carl Lawson looks on the field. So we can make all the speculation. We've never seen him. Tomlinson, I don't even think he's going to make it on the field. Ben Cleveland never made it on the field. Emory Jones is barely making it on the field. I don't think he's going to make it back on the field. I think at this point, the hashtag fire Harbaugh, that needs to happen because the failure of this season, it's dead on his shoulders.
Thanks, Richard. Appreciate the call, brother. And to be clear, as Richard mentioned, this could very well be simply a replacement over the next few weeks for Ben Cleveland, who will not be available as a depth guard, as a backup guard for this team. So I'm not suggesting that Laken Tomlinson is going to be a guy or the guy to help save them at either one of their guard positions. The Ravens haven't given us anything to believe that a change could be imminent aside from rotating Emory Jones Jr. in what became a couple series on Thanksgiving night with Andrew Voorhees at left guard for his NFL debut. 16 total snaps. I'm not suggesting anything more than, for me, bare minimum is, hey, we needed a Ben Cleveland replacement and a guy that has experience, the guy that's a veteran, the guy that's available, and that was Laken Tomlinson. So he's signed to the Ravens practice squad. Carl Lawson is released, veteran pass rusher, played in just 1 game on Thanksgiving night, had 5 sacks with the Cowboys last year. Granted, yes, that's with Micah Parsons prior to the trade. I think a lot of us felt like, given the issues with pass rush, aside from that brief 2 to 3 week spurt that they had after the acquisition of Draymond Jones, you felt like there was a lot left to be desired given the personnel there, particularly David Ajabo's quiet play for years running now. I can't imagine he's going to be a Raven this time next year. And then on the flip side, some of you are like, well, what other options do they have? I think the Ravens have told you that they don't really truly feel that Corey Bullock is an option for them. They didn't feel like Ben Cleveland was a viable option compared to what they have in Voorhees and Fa'alele. And we can argue and scream and kick and, get after them all we want. And that's fair because it hasn't been good enough. And it's been an organizational failure top down when it comes to assessing that position. What do I mean by that position? Both starting guards. It hasn't been good enough. And even if it is a handful of plays throughout the course of a multi-week span or a month span, sometimes those plays, first of all, they start to add up. And two, as we saw just the other day, they can help decide games. What if Lamar doesn't have to step up in the pocket after Fa'alele completely misdiagnoses the Patrick Queen blitz, which is missed in pass pro and whiffed by Rasheen Ali? If he doesn't have to, and again, the drop on third down that I'm referring to from Bateman is solely on Bateman. But if Lamar is able to have more time in the pocket there and fire it right to the breadbasket of where he wants it to Bateman's chest, maybe that's a catch. And he's got one man in front of him to miss, to make miss, and a whole lot of daylight. Maybe he finds a way into the end zone for 6. It's that type of stuff. And there were a handful of examples that we got into earlier this afternoon on the Vault with Derek Coleman from All 22 Film Analysis, which again is a weekly indictment, not simply on the players. At some point, Shannon Sharp can get after, and we all can, Fa'alele all we want. At some point, is it truly his fault? Yeah, directly it is, because he's the man in the arena. But who keeps throwing him out there week after week after week, seeing what we all see? John Harbaugh, George Warhop, and all the way at the top, who put the coaching staff in this position from a roster building standpoint, is Eric DeCosta and his Ravens front office. All of which, every single one of those layers that I just mentioned, deserve blame in this conversation. Captain's here. And Captain is calling for a benching. He wants a benching this weekend. Do not hold your breath on that one. Not saying I don't agree with you. Just don't hold your breath. Perhaps it's the opponent. Emery made his debut against Cincinnati on Thanksgiving night. So will he play again in a rotation? Sunday, 1 o'clock in Cincy, a game that the Ravens absolutely have to have. Cincy really has to have it.